Hey everyone, AMR back again with another tier list. So in today's video, I think I'm going to be doing a NFL season projections of where I think they'll be landing this season. So I wanted to wait until after the draft and then after maybe a couple weeks after the draft, so that way we could let the dust settle. I mean, there's been a lot of activity this offseason if you haven't been watching. And then as of late, you did have Jarvis Landry going ahead and signing with the New Orleans Saints post-draft as well. There's a lot of rumors about whether or not OBJ will be re-signed to the Los Angeles Rams. So still a lot up in the air, but as we are today, we're going to go ahead and try and project where we think that these teams are going to be landing. As always, if you like the content, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Helps me out a ton. Let's go ahead and jump into this. So a couple of things that we'll do before each team that we end up running into, I think I'm going to go ahead and display their starting roster on the screen so that way we can look at what their depth chart looks like. So first off here, we have the Cleveland Browns. Right now it is being said that Deshaun Watson is going to be the quarterback. I think that's pretty clear and cut. They do have the dual-headed running back situation of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt still, so that is definitely going to be a deadly combo for them. Now, they did go ahead and add a huge acquisition in this offseason of getting Amari Cooper, as well as cutting ties with Jarvis Landry after a couple seasons with them. Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to be a solid deep threat type of a player. Amari Cooper and him are probably going to end up feeding off one another a whole lot better than what Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb and the Jarvis Landry Peoples-Jones were going ahead and carving off of. So just being quite honest with you, I don't have a ton of research into who David Bell is. So I'm not going to cut on that too much here. They still have a pretty weak point at the tight end position. Njoku was drafted to be like that tight end for them, that end-all be-all tight end for him. But he just hasn't really panned out the past couple of seasons. Fullback doesn't really matter. I think that their offensive line is actually pretty good. I think that Jake Conklin and Bitonio are probably their better linemen. Wyatt Teller is obviously good. Let's go ahead and look at their defense here. You have Myles Garrett, Jordan Elliott, Tavon Bryan, Chase Winovich, JOK. So I think that, Owusu Koamara is probably one of their better linebackers, probably the best linebacker for the team. Then you have Anthony Walker, Sione Takitaki. I don't even know how I say that name right, but I know Takitaki is the correct way to say that last part. Denzel Ward he just got like a huge contract this offseason, so you know that he is either going to play up to it or just kind of settle in the dust. I think that you're probably going to end up getting the former of the two. And then you got John Johnson III and Greg Newsome. So their defense looks pretty solid. I'm not going to lie. I don't know who Cade York is. Looking over here at their special teams, I don't know who Cade York is, but their punter is definitely good. I think that Jakeem Grant has had a lot of success in the league thus far as a punt returner. So yeah, this Browns team is going to be pretty deadly. I think that they're going to be definitely one of the better teams in the NFL. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how they land out, but I think early expectations here has to be that they're going to be an 11-13 win team. They're in a conference right now where you have the Steelers, who probably aren't going to be the biggest threat in the world. You have the Bengals, who they have to play twice a year, and they're going to be pretty good. They're going to be a really tough matchup for them. And then you got the Ravens, where I think that the Ravens are really, really good. They did get rid of Marquise Brown, but they still have Mark Andrews. They've got, Lamar Jackson. They've got a solid running back room with the actual return of J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, and Justice Hill. So I think that the Baltimore Ravens are going to be one of the better teams in the league as well, but I don't think that those two things are going to be hindering the Browns from getting to that 11-13 win mark. So the Cleveland Browns finished last season at 8-9. I really don't think that was indicative of their record. I think that the Cleveland Browns were definitely a quarterback away from being at 10-13 type of a win team. I think that their defense has really kept them in ball games, but really the quarterback has been the biggest hindrance. They've went ahead and addressed that this offseason. They've actually got an upgrade at the wide receiver position as well. So for those reasons alone, I think that this team is going to take a huge jump here in the upcoming season. Next up here on our list is the San Francisco 49ers. So I think I'm actually going to be doing this division by division. So since I went ahead and started with the AFC North, I think that I have to just go ahead and try and finish out that division. Otherwise, it's going to make this pretty hard to just keep jumping around from team to team. So let's go ahead and take the next available AFC North team, which is subsequently going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. So let's go ahead and show what their team looks like. So at the quarterback position, the Pittsburgh Steelers went ahead and drafted Kenny Pickett. You had like the tragic news of Dwayne Haskins this offseason, really like right before the draft. So they do have Mitch Trubisky, which, as you can see, I am a Chicago Bears fan. I have a special place in my asshole for Mitch Trubisky. So I don't really care for him as a quarterback. I think that he was drafted obviously way too high. He was a standout at UNC, but he just didn't really pan out in the NFL. He spent as a backup behind Josh Allen this past season, and now he actually got traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers in replacement for their longtime quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger. So at the running back position, you have Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson. At the wide receiver with Chase Claypool and George Pickens. I believe that Juju was on this team, but now Juju is on the Kansas City Chiefs. And then James Washington's usually on this list, but I don't see him on here. He probably ended up getting signed by someone else. Pat Freiermuth at tight end. That guy was stellar this past season. Really excited to see what he can do in his sophomore season. You got Derek Watt at the fullback position. Nothing changes there. You got Dan Moore Jr., Dotson, Cole, Daniels, and Okorafor at right tackle. So I really think that their offensive line is it's okay. They got some holes in it, obviously, but I think that their defense is going to be the bigger talking point here. You got Stephon Tuitt, Alua. Alulu. Oh my God, I have no idea. You got Cameron Hayward. He's obviously like one of their better players on their team, along with TJ Watt. You got Devin Bush, Miles Jack. So they've taken a huge leap here in the offseason on building up this defense. You got Terrell Edmonds, Minkah Fitzpatrick. So I'm really excited to see what this team is going to end up being able to do. I don't think that they are going to be a contender for the division, though, unfortunately. And then looking over here at their place kicker, Chris Boswell has been there for as long as I can remember. And then you got Harvey kicking punts as well. So I really think that this team is like one or two players away from becoming like a huge threat in the NFL. I just don't see it right now. So for that reason alone, I think that is going to be a little bit of a rebuild year for them, and they're going to be landing right around the 7 to 8 win mark. So next up in the division, I believe, would be the Baltimore Ravens. So let's go ahead and pop over in there. So looking over here at the Baltimore Ravens, there's going to be a lot of unknowns here. You don't know if J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards are going to be healthy. That's why they went ahead this offseason and signed Mike Davis. Mike Davis has really been around the league longer than anyone really should have expected. He kind of just fizzled out after having a good year or two in Carolina in backup role to Christian McCaffrey. And then you got Justice Hill also, who ended up getting injured as well. So there have like a lot of questions on their running back team, on their running back position, which is a big part of how they play offense. I feel like Baltimore is definitely a run first team. So, you obviously have Lamar Jackson, and then you also got to see Tyler Huntley in the backup role. Tyler Huntley was definitely good, so I think that there's a lot less concern around the fact that we need to keep Lamar Jackson healthy the whole time. You do have Rashad Bateman, who I think is going to take a huge step here in year 2 for the team. You have Devin Duvernay, which, he played pretty good as a third man, but you got Proche, who I think is also going to be pretty good for them. I just feel like they have 3 B-tier wide receivers. And then, they have like one of the best tight ends in the league at Mark Andrews. Ricard is definitely one of the better fullbacks in the league. You got Stanley, Linderbaum, Zeitler, and Moses. So I think that their offensive line actually looks pretty good as well. So offensively, 1 to 10, they're probably sitting right around by like an 8. I think that they're definitely going to be doing pretty well. The fact that they're not a pass-heavy team doesn't really concern me. That the fact that they pretty much have 3 B-tier wide receivers. Looking over here at the defensive side, you have, I don't know how to say that last name. You have Pierce, Calais Campbell, who obviously is a freakishly huge human being, but he's getting a little old now. You got Bowser, Bynes. You got Patrick Queen, who is always good. Odafe Owiha. Okay, sure. You got Marcus Peters, who, again, we don't know if he's going to be healthy. You got Kyle Hamilton, who I'm actually pretty excited to see how he pans out in the NFL. Strong safety from Notre Dame. He had a lot of draft talk for him. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does. And then you got Marlon Humphrey as well. He was an addition this past offseason. So I think that the defensive side of the ball is probably about a 6.5, maybe a 7. I think that there's just that right defensive end position is going to be pretty weak for them. Sure, Calais Campbell is absolutely freaking huge, but he's a little slow. He's lost a step, in my personal opinion. Obviously, you have the best kicker in the NFL at Justin Tucker, and then Sam Couch is also pretty good too. Sam Cook is also pretty good too. I don't know how to say the punter's last name. Leave me alone. So I think that for those two things being considered, they are going to be in a tough position here because they're going to be facing a pretty stout Cincinnati Bengals team, as well as a pretty strong Cleveland Browns team. I think that they are going to be pretty good still, though, and I think they're going to be better than Pittsburgh, but I could definitely see this happening where they're both kind of in that 7 to 8 win range. So I think I'm just going to leave them in 7 to 8. I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to finish at 7 and 10, and the Baltimore Ravens are going to finish at 8 and 9. So next up here, you have the Cincinnati Bengals. I think that the Cincinnati Bengals... Okay, so first off, let's go ahead and take a look at their team. So looking here at the Cincinnati Bengals, you have quarterback Joe Burrow. He has been absolutely tremendous for them this past year, leading them all the way up to the Super Bowl, but just not able to climb that mountain of the Los Angeles Rams. You have running back Joe Mixon, who honestly had probably one of his better seasons in the league yet. I mean, that's really without question. He was able to stay healthy for once, healthy-ish anyway, and he was really efficient when he did get the ball. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, those two guys are going to be one of the best duos in the entire NFL, in my personal opinion. They're both freakishly good, and they are super talents. Tyler Boyd is no slouch either. He plays a very, very good slot role for the team. Hayden Hurst at tight end might be the game changer that this team actually needs to take. They were able to get rid of CJ Uzomah, who ended up going to the New York Jets this offseason, so they were able to acquire Hayden Hurst. And I think that is going to be the step in the direction that they needed to transform this team. I really think that they were maybe one player away from winning that Super Bowl. But the Los Angeles Rams, they literally threw all money at that team. And ultimately, they were able to hold the Lombardi Trophy. But I mean, at what cost, honestly? I don't really know too many of the linemen, so I'm not going to spend too much time on them. The people that I do know are going to be Ted Karras, Alex Kappa, and Lyle Collins. So Lyle Collins is, obviously a fantastic lineman. Let's go ahead and look over here at their defense. You got Sam Hubbard, DJ Reader, he's very good. You got Trey Hendrickson, who is very, very good as well. I think that he was a rookie last season, so this will be his sophomore season. Interested to see how that goes. You got Jermaine Pratt, Akeem Davis Gaither. Don't know. You don't really hear too many of these defensive player names all that often unless you are a crazy NFL draft person. You got Awuzie, who is very good. Von Bell, who's very good. Jesse Bates, who is superb. And then you got Eli Apple, who is not that great. So I think that, obviously you have one of the better kickers in the NFL, and Evan McPherson. And then you got Kevin Huber kicking punts for the team. So I really think that their defense is going to be just as strong as their offense. Call it what you will, but this could be a revenge tour. I really see, I wish that there was another tier up here at possibly 14, 15 type of wins, because I think that the Cincinnati Bengals could really go on a bit of a burner this season. So since we went ahead and knocked out the AFC North, let's go ahead and flip over to the NFC North. First up on that list of the NFC North is going to be my favorite team, the Chicago Bears. It's been a really tough past decade for being a Bears fan, honestly. They've been just rebuilding ever since they went to the Super Bowl, in my personal opinion. Had a lot of risky moves that just really never panned out. Let's go ahead and talk about their quarterback position. So you have Justin Fields and Trevor Siemian is the backup, and Nathan Peterman's the backup. Oh my God. If Justin Fields ever gets hurt, the Bears are just going to be folding on themselves. You got to see Simeon play last season in New Orleans, and then Nathan Peterman, the only time I can ever remember him seeing the field was in Buffalo, where he threw like 4 or 5 interceptions in a single game. Then at running back position, you have Dave Montgomery combined with Khalil Herbert. I think that these two guys are going to be outstanding this season. We got to see Khalil Herbert step up when David Montgomery went down to an injury for a couple of weeks, and he did really well in that role. He was kind of an unknown draft type player who ended up stepping into a large role. He played very well, and I'm excited to see if they end up trying to get him more incorporated into the offense. You got star wide receiver Darnell Mooney. I really think that he is the future of this team. He's fast. He's got good route running. Just a little small. So you got Byron Pringle, who is literally just trying to not get arrested at this point. And then Velus Jones Jr., I don't know who that is, so I'm going to have to wait and see. Cole Kmet, I think, is definitely one of the weaker points on the offense. I don't see it. I really don't see it with this guy. Everyone's like, oh, Cole Kmet, he's really good. He's okay. I mean, he's an okay pass blocker, but they don't use the tight end position enough to even care about this. Like, why are we even talking about him? You got Tevin Jenkins, Cody Whitehair. Cody Whitehair is obviously pretty good. And then the other 3 guys, I don't really know. Looking over here at the defensive side of the ball, you got, I don't know how to say his first name. You got Muhammad. You got Tonga, Justin Jones, Robert Quinn. Oh. Okay. You got Robert Quinn as the right defensive end. So that is a glaring hole in the Bears defense. Nicholas Morrow, Roquan Smith, the knight in shining armor for this defense. Matthew Adams, Jalen Johnson is a fantastic corner. You got Eddie Jackson as the superb free safety. And then Duke Shelley as the other corner. So Cairo Santos as the place kicker and Ryan Winslow as the punter. I mean, this is tough, man. I really think that this is going to be yet another shit season for the Chicago Bears. I really don't see the Chicago Bears getting more than... I really think that they're going to be worse than the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I would love to be pleasantly surprised, but I just don't see it. I think that it was the GM of the team ended up coming out and saying something like, oh yeah, if the Bears don't win the division this year, then I'll give up my job. And people are like, thank God. Like, I cannot wait to get a new guy in that chair. So next up here, it looks like it's going to be the Minnesota Vikings. Let's go ahead and take a look at them. So looking here at the Minnesota Vikings depth chart, you have quarterback Kirk Cousins and then Kellen Mond. I think that these two are very good. I obviously have a little bit more of, I don't know. I live in Minnesota right now, and there's a lot of people that give Kirk Cousins a lot of grief. I don't really see it, though. He's actually pretty good. He had one of his most accurate seasons this past season, and people are still kind of ragging on him. I don't think that he's the problem, honestly, but they ended up getting rid of Mike Zimmer. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do with a new head coach calling plays. You have superstar Dalvin Cook paired with Alexander Mattison. A little ashamed to see that Alexander Mattison wasn't able to go get himself a contract given how good he is. And then looking over here at the receiving core, it looks like it's going to be all returners. So you got Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and KJ Osborne. I think Adam Thielen is kind of reaching that plateau, if not already fallen off the plateau and going into a valley now. He's getting up there in age. He's been way better than anyone could have ever asked for. He has been fantastic, great hands, super reliable as a wide receiver. He's losing a lot of steps, And then you got Smith Marset, who has been really good. He was their drafted rookie last season. Didn't get to see the playing field a whole lot, but he's pretty damn good too. So if Irv Smith Jr. is on this, is able to stay healthy for this team, they're going to be pretty freaking dominant. They have CJ Ham as a fullback. He's been fantastic. Christian Darrisaw, Ezra Cleveland, Garrett Bradbury, Jesse Davis, and Brian O'Neill. I think that their offensive line is fantastic. Their offense probably, in my personal opinion, is 8.5, 9 if they use it correctly. Flipping over here to the defensive side of the ball, you have Harrison Phillips, Dalvin Tomlinson, Jalen Twyman, Danielle Hunter, who is a fantastic linebacker. Eric Kendricks, who is also a very good linebacker. Jordan Hicks. I'm surprised that he is playing for the Minnesota Vikings. You got Zadarius Smith, who is the newly acquired linebacker, who I think is probably going to end up being one of their better players. Patrick Peterson in his final season, I want to say. Like, he's definitely getting so old now that he's not going to be able to play for much longer. Harrison Smith and Cameron Dantzler. Greg Joseph and Jordan Berry. Man, I'm going to go out on a limb here, man. And I think that with the right coach, this could be the season for the Minnesota Vikings. I'm actually going to put them in the 11-13 win. I think that they were a head coach away from tearing the league down last season. They have a lot of talent on that team. And if Dalvin Cook can stay healthy, Justin Jefferson can stay healthy, I really think that they have all the pieces to make that system work. So flipping up here next, you have the Detroit Lions. I probably went out of order there, but I don't really care. Leave me alone. You got Detroit Lions up next. Go ahead and look at their depth chart. You got Jared Goff and Tim Boyle and David Blau. Man, that quarterback room is just tough. Jared Goff probably looks like a diamond compared to these two in that locker room. You got DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. That combo is fantastic. They played very well together last season. Swift actually started out really well, but then kind of fizzled out. But Jamal Williams was really influential in his backup role. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who had a super strong end to the last season. Josh Reynolds kind of probably deserves to be in this list here. I did not know that they went out and got DJ Chark, though. So I think that these two are going to be really fun to watch. Cephas played quite a bit for the team last season, and he was actually pretty good. You got Jameson Williams. We'll see if he's ready for day one. He did tear his ACL in the national championship, so it's going to be interesting whether or not he can actually go ahead and see the field in his rookie season. Well, I guess for the season opener anyway. You got TJ Hawkinson, who I think is on his last year of his deal. And then looking over here at our linemen, you have Taylor Decker, Jonah Jackson, Frank Ragnow, probably the best center in the NFL. Hulapulavidi Vaitai. I did not know that he played for the Detroit Lions. I thought that he played for the Eagles, I want to say. I guess not. And then you got Penei Sewell. So this Lions team looks pretty damn good. They're definitely looking better than the Bears. So let's go ahead and look at the defense. You got Okwara. I don't know, man. Is that his brother? Are they brothers on this team? That's pretty neat. You got McNeil, Brokers, Aiden Hutchinson, who is a fantastic player. He is a rookie this season. It'll be really fun to watch him. Alex Anzalone, Amani Owarie. Amani Owarie is actually really good. And then Jeff Okuda is pretty good as well. I think that this team's going to be pretty deadly. I'm not going to lie. I don't think that they're going to be threatening the Vikings in this one at all. But I think that we finally see the Detroit Lions take a step in the right direction. Maybe. I don't know. Their quarterback is going to be a huge crutch to them. I don't know if Jared Goff has what it takes to get that team. He did very well when he was under that Sean McVay system. But we saw what he did when he didn't have Sean McVay. He pretty much went winless almost. I think Dan Campbell is the right man for that position as a head coach on that team. But all things being considered, we are talking about the Detroit Lions after all, and they end up imploding on themselves all the time. So next up, we have the Green Bay Packers. So switching over. So on the Green Bay Packers here, you have Aaron Rodgers leading the helm. You got Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. I think that this might be one of the best running back cores in the entire NFL. Got the bruiser back of A.J. Dillon and then more of the finesse type runner of Aaron Jones. Alan Lazard, Christian Watson, and Sammy Watkins. If they can all stay healthy, they're going to be very good, especially with Aaron Rodgers delivering the passes to them. But that being said, Sammy Watkins has really struggled to stay healthy. Alan Lazard has struggled to stay healthy, but I think that all of these players right here possess the the wherewithal and the like grit to try and be the best in the NFL. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch Sammy Watkins in a Packer uniform. And I'm not even a Packer fan at all. You got Robert Tonyan, who I think is one of the better tight ends in the league. It's just matter whether or not he's going to stay healthy. You have David Bakhtiari, the best left tackle in the NFL, in my personal opinion. And then you got Runyon, Myers, Newman, and Elton Jenkins. So I think that the offense is probably going to be pretty good, which is crazy to say given that they gave up Devontae Adams this past offseason to the Vegas Raiders. So I still think that the Green Bay Packers are going to give the Vikings a run for their money at the top of the NFC North. And looking over here at the defense, you got Dean Lowry, Kenny Clark, who's very good, Jaron Reed, Preston Smith. Preston Smith has been very good as well. Devondre Campbell, Quay Walker, who's going to be fun to watch as well, Rashawn Gary, who's been great, Eric Stokes, who had a very good season last season, Adrian Amos, who is also very well, Adrian Amos, who is also very good for the team after transitioning from the Chicago Bears. You got Darnell Savage, who had the crazy interception, I believe, to seal the game against the Arizona Cardinals last season. And then you got Jair Alexander, Mason Crosby, and Pat O'Donnell. I think that this team right here is probably going to be in that same range as the Minnesota Vikings. They're going to be an 11-13 win team. It's really going to be them two duking it out for who ends up winning this division, whereas the Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions will hold down the fort at the bottom. So I think it's only fitting that we do the West now because there was a lot of shit that happened over on the West. So let's start off with the AFC West. And the first AFC West team that I can see here is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. So looking here at the Kansas City Chiefs depth chart, you have Patrick Mahomes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire with Ronald Jones as the pairing there. I think that that is an interesting combo. You have Juju Smith-Schuster, Mecole Hardman, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I mean, that system is going to be interesting to see if it works. I think that they could work very well. It's just odd to see a team without Tyreek Hill and associate that as the Kansas City Chiefs. That's going to take some getting used to. And then not to mention that two of these three guys were all not on the team last season. You have Travis Kelce, who is the best tight end in the NFL. Orlando Brown Jr. is very good. Dooney's good. Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, and Andrew Wiley, all very good linemen as well. So I think that they are pretty damn good on offense, even without Tyreek Hill. Looking on the defensive side of the ball, you got George Karlaftis. Looking over here on the defensive side of the ball, they ended up getting a rookie in the draft. I think that that was a huge step in the right direction for the team. You got Chris Jones, who is very good as well, Frank Clark, Justin Reed, who's good, and L'Jarius Sneed. I think defensively they're probably lacking a little bit, getting rid of Tyrann Mathieu, but I mean that just kind of had to happen. You have Harrison Butker, who's one of the best kickers in the NFL, along with Tommy Townsend, who I think might be the best punter in the NFL. I think that the Kansas City Chiefs are still going to be a huge contender for the top of the league, in my personal opinion. I think that they are going to be surprisingly good. And if they're not here, I think that they're going to go here. Like, there's really no in between. I don't know if they're going to be like super well, everything's gelling, or if they're going to really struggle in this first transitional year, but they will get their feedback. I'm not a Kansas City Chiefs fan, but I think it just goes without saying, like, they're a really good team, good franchise, and they'll figure it out. So next up here, we have the Denver Broncos. I mean, this division is going to be so tough to win. This division is going to be ridiculously good. It's literally just going to be a bunch of like superstar teams just duking it out. So looking here at the Denver Broncos team, you have Russell Wilson at the quarterback position with Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. One of the best, if not the best, running back combination in the entire NFL. Got Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and Tim Patrick. We'll be interested to see how Jerry Jeudy handles his little dispute that he's had recently with the law. But those three wide receivers are stellar. I think that Russell Wilson's really going to bring out the best in these guys. Albert O. And then looking at their offense, there's really no like holes here in my personal opinion. Glasgow and Kujanberry is both very good. Looking over at the defensive side of the ball, they got DJ Jones, Mike Purcell, Dre'Mont Jones, Bradley Chubb, Alex Singleton, Ronald Darby, Justin Simmons, Patrick Surtain. I mean, this team is going to be pretty stacked. Brandon McManus, who's a little old now, but he's still very good. And then Sam Martin kicking punts. I think that the Denver Broncos are probably going to end up being in this 9-10 win. I don't necessarily know if they're going to be able to take that step to the 11-13. It's really going to be dependent on how Russell Wilson gels with this system. I think it'll be fun, and honestly, this team could end up switching, but who's to know and who's to say at this point? So next up on our list here, we have the Vegas Raiders. So led by Derek Carr, Josh Jacobs, and Kenyon Drake. Devontae Adams is like probably their biggest new guy on the team. I mean, without question, right? You got Hunter Renfrow and Demarcus Robinson, who's coming over from the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that this team right here is just so stacked. I mean, you have Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, and Darren Waller all on the same team. Where's the one guy on the team? Did they get rid of Bryan Edwards? They must have gotten rid of Bryan Edwards because he was the other starter for this team, and he's not even on the list anymore. We'll probably see him later on in the video. I don't know any of their linemen, so sorry. It's a weak point that I'm trying to get better at. Looking at the defensive side of the ball, you got Max Crosby, Jonathan Hankins, Chandler Jones, another huge acquisition this offseason, Denzel Perryman, another big one. I mean, can we all just kind of agree that they're going to be right here? I mean, I really don't know. I have no idea. Honestly, at this point, I think it's only fair to just do this because I legit have no idea who's going to win this division. It's a complete toss-up in my personal opinion. So I went ahead and changed the Kansas City Chiefs down to that 9-10 range because I really like the fact that they have to play each other 6 times, like 2-2-2. Like, what do you do? Like, you're guaranteeing that you're probably going to end up losing at least 3 of those 6. So looking over here at the Los Angeles Chargers, you have Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, and Isaiah Spiller. Isaiah Spiller is a rookie. You got Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Joshua Palmer. Nothing new here on the receiving core. Jalen Guyton, also nothing new there. And then looking over at the tight end, you do have Gerald Everett now, which is weird. It's a little weird to see that, but whatever. He is paired with Donald Parham. And then looking at the linemen, the only real standouts, in my personal opinion, are probably Corey Lindsey, Storm Norton, and Rashawn Slater. All 3 of those are very, very good players. I think I've heard of Matt Filer as well. I don't know, man. Leave me alone. I told you I don't know anything about linemen. Look at the defensive side of the ball. You got Tillery, who's very good. Then you got Sebastian Joseph Day, who's also very good. Joey Bosa. Khalil Mack, unfortunately, is now on the Los Angeles Chargers. We got a bucket of footballs for him, so it's good for us. You got Derwin James Jr. and J.C. Jackson. This team's going to be so disgusting. I mean, good luck. Good luck. Whoever wins this division wins the Super Bowl this season. Prove me wrong. Flipping over to the other side of the NFC West now, let's go ahead and start off with the Arizona Cardinals. You have Kyler Murray with James Conner and Eno Benjamin as the 2 running backs. I think that is very good that they got rid of Chase Edmonds. He was kind of dead weight on the team at this point. He was definitely very good, but he was kind of getting phased out. James Conner was so good without him. And Eno Benjamin, being a rookie last season, definitely played a more reserved role that I think that he definitely fitted more what their system was looking for at the time. They ended up getting a huge acquisition in the actual NFL draft of Marquise Brown from the Baltimore Ravens. They retain AJ Green. They retain AJ Green, and then you have DeAndre Hopkins, who is getting suspended from the league in the beginning of the season due to a PED violation. So that's going to be interesting to see how how all that plays out. I mean, could he appeal it? I don't even know at this point. You got Rondale Moore, who had a bunch of hype coming out of him, but ended up just kind of like doing nothing. Andy Isabel, I really liked him quite a bit. I just haven't seen him too much. And then, of course, you got Antone Wesley, who was very good as well last season for the team. Zach Ertz. I mean, this team looks good. This team looks very good. I don't really see too many holes on the offensive side of the ball. Looking over here at the defense, they ended up retaining J.J. Watt. Zaven Collins, I think, is really good. Isaiah Simmons is very good. Budda Baker. So their offense is definitely a little bit better than their defensive side of the ball. So with that said, I think that they're still going to be a 9-10 win team. I don't know how they're going to be able to survive without DeAndre Hopkins. We all saw how they kind of plummeted to their own death last season when DeAndre Hopkins ended up getting injured. So we need to like kind of take this slow and have like tempered expectations when we talk about the Arizona Cardinals moving forward. So next up on the list here, we have the Los Angeles Rams. Okay, so the Los Angeles Rams are led by quarterback Matthew Stafford. You got Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson Jr. I think I heard this morning, I want to say, that Sony Michel signed with the Miami Dolphins. I find that so crazy. You have Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, and Van Jefferson. So their receiving core room got just a little bit better. I don't see Robert Woods on this list, so that kind of sucks. I mean, he did get hurt, and you do have weighing in the balance of time whether or not that they're going to bring back OBJ. If they do that, I mean, seal it. I mean, door shut. It's going to be the Rams versus whoever's in the winner of the AFC West. So looking over here, you got Higbee, Noteboom, Havenstein. That guy's enormous, by the way. Really good offense. I mean, that's without question. Here on the defense side of the ball, you got Greg Gaines. He was very good. Aaron Donald's very good. Bobby Wagner, he is the newly addition to the team. I think that he is going to be a huge difference maker for them on the defense side of the ball. Jalen Ramsey, obviously fantastic as a corner, if not the best corner in the league. Jordan Fuller and Troy Hill. Without question, this is going to be another really, really stacked team. I think that they're probably going to be up here, though. I think that they are going to be a little bit better than the Arizona Cardinals. I think that that's pretty obvious. So next up on the list here, we have the San Francisco 49ers. So the San Francisco 49ers are in a little bit of a weird limbo type state right now. We don't know if they're going to go with Trey Lance or Jimmy G. I think that we kind of do know, though. I think that the answer is going to be Trey Lance. And I don't think that that's the wrong decision by any means. I think that he's ready to take that leap. I think that he fits the offensive a little bit more than what Jimmy Garoppolo ended up doing. You got Elijah Mitchell as the RB1 on the team, which is pretty interesting. Like, look at this running back room. All these guys have injury concern. But that's just the San Francisco 49ers running back room for you. You got Deebo Samuel. It's cool to see Ray McCloud go on the 49ers. I really liked him on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jawan Jennings and Brandon Ayuk. I think that both of these guys are going to be very good in the support roles to Deebo Samuel. You got George Kittle, who is just fantastic as a tight end. You got Juice as the fullback, and then the offensive linemen are all very good as well. And then looking over here at the defensive side of the ball, you have D Ford, who is definitely getting up there in age. Eric Armstead's fantastic. Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, the best linebacker in the NFL currently. You got Greg Odom, Jimmy Ward, and Emmanuel Mosley. I think that the defensive side of the ball is literally going to carry them into having one of their best seasons in a long time. So let's go ahead and do what we're going to do. And I think that the San Francisco 49ers are going to be in that 9-10 win range. Okay, and then so rounding out the NFC West, you have the Seattle Seahawks. This is tough, man. You hate to see it, but you got Drew Lock as the quarterback, Rashad Penny as the running back. I mean, is Chris Carson done? Probably. We don't really know. You got Tyler Lockett, who's playing a little past his prime. You got DK Metcalf, who is obviously freakishly good, but probably doesn't want to be there anymore. You got Noah Fant. Noah Fant plays for the Seattle Seahawks now, which is crazy. I didn't know that. I feel like that one was one that just kind of like went under the radar. Looking over here at the defensive side of the ball, you have Quentin Jefferson, Uchenna Nwosu, who is very good. I thought that he played for the Los Angeles Chargers last season. Could be wrong. And then you go... Nope. You got Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, and Sidney Jones. Defensively in the secondary, they actually look pretty decent. I can't get there in my mind, man. I think that the Seattle Seahawks are going to really struggle again this offseason or this season. And that's just like the that's just like the burden that they're going to have to deal with here. Okay, so now that we've gone ahead and knocked out the West and the North of both conferences, let's go ahead and go over to the East, and then we'll round out with the South. So starting off, similar pattern where we're going to do the AFC East. So in the AFC East, I believe New England is going to be our first team. So let's go ahead and pull up their roster. Looking here at the New England Patriots, they are led by Mac Jones. Mac Jones had a stellar rookie season out of Alabama. It's crazy to me that Brian Hoyer is still around. I feel like that guy's been around since mid 2000s, if I'm not mistaken. Like, he's been around the league. But you have running back Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. I think that James White may not be on the team. I think he's on the team right now, but I don't know if he's actually going to make it to the final roster because Pierre Strong Jr., they did draft him. I think that he's a better running back in general. James White did have a stellar career, but he's just kind of getting up there in age. And at the wide receiver core, you have Devontae Parker, Jacoby Myers, and Kendrick Bourne. I really like the wide receiver room here for the New England Patriots. I think that they have a lot to work off of here. You have Nelson Aguilar, who's not even slated to be a starter, along with N'Keal Harry. Like, N'Keal Harry was supposed to be some, like, worldly talent, but he just really hasn't panned out in the NFL. Jacoby Myers took 2 years to get his first touchdown. So I think the future is bright for this team. They have Hunter Henry as tight end 1 with Jonnu Smith. I thought a lot of us were probably guessing that the tight ends were going to be splitting a little bit more time. That really wasn't the case, though. And then so looking here at their offensive line, I don't really know too many guys outside of Trent Brown and Onwenu. So I'm not really sure. Onwenu, Trent Brown, and Mike Onwenu. I think that they're going to be a pretty solid team offensively. They were definitely able to hold their own. Their defense has definitely been their strong suit up to this point. So looking over here at the defense side of the ball, you have Devon Godchaux. He is very good. You have Matthew Judon, who is extremely good at the linebacker position. And then Devin McCourty, I think that he's probably getting close to his final season in the NFL. He has been around for a while. He's very good. I think that he actually started out, if I'm not mistaken, more of a like slot corner, and then now that he's kind of gotten up there in age, they've kind of moved him into the free safety. Could be getting mixed up with his brother. His brother and him were actually on the same team when the New England Patriots won the Super Bowl. And then you have Nick Folk as the kicker. That guy's been around the league a lot too. Really excited to see him be on a good team finally. And then you have Jake Bailey, the punter, as well. So looking at this team, I mean, offensively, I think that they finally have the weapons to contend for like that divisional run. However, they are in the same division as the rebuilt Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. So it's going to be a knockout, drag-out type of a season for them. I just think that Mac Jones is very good. So is Damian Harris. And then that paired with Bill Belichick and a stout defense, I just really see that the New England Patriots are going to be in that 9 to 10 win threshold. So a lot of you are probably thinking to yourself, like, man, there's a lot of 9 to 10 wins up here. There's got to be a lot of teams that are going to start filling out these sections down here. And I promise you there will be. Just taking a look at who's left here, I think that we know which ones are going to be where. But next up, we have the Miami Dolphins. So let's pull up their roster. So looking here at the Miami Dolphins have probably made the most amount of acquisitions this offseason. They added Teddy Bridgewater as a nice little support role to Tua. I think that Tua, if he's not careful, he could lose his job to Teddy. But that being said, it would take a pretty monumental collapse from Tua to actually fold like that. They did end up getting Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert and Sony Michel. So Myles Gaskin was kind of like this guy that everyone thought was going to take the bull by the horns and just like really dominate this past season. Didn't really do anything. I mean, we had Ahmed, who's not even on this RB list here. And so I don't know if Myles Gaskin's going to be their fourth string running back. Honestly, this core right here is disgusting. It's a bunch of guys who are definitely kind of getting up there in age outside of Gaskin. But this is like established talent. You have Chase Edmonds, who is fantastic in Arizona. Raheem Mostert, who is literally probably the fastest guy in the NFL when he's healthy coming out of the 49ers. And then Sony Michel, who has pretty much been pretty solid coming out of the New England Patriots. So I think that from a run game perspective, they're going to be deadly. And then we haven't even talked about how good their receiving core is. They have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Cedric Wilson. Cedric Wilson, I'm really excited to see what he can do now that he's out of the Dallas Cowboys system. I think that he's going to be an excellent third for this receiving core. You have the speedster, aka the cheetah of Tyreek Hill. You have Jalen Waddle, who is fantastic, really fun, electric player to watch. And then you got Cedric Wilson, who is also a speed demon himself. And then looking over here at the tight end position, you have Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki is probably one of the most underrated tight ends in the entire league, in my personal opinion. The guy is stellar. He is so outstanding as a tight end. I'm really excited to see. I didn't know that they got Alex Ingold. Alex Ingold has been stellar as a fullback in the Vegas Raiders system for a very long time. And then of course they went ahead and got that free agent signing of Teron Armstead. That's probably bigger of a trade or a bigger signing than Tyreek Hill was, in my personal opinion. They addressed a lot of need there at the offensive line, which they desperately needed. And then now they actually have some super talent on that offensive line to back that running back rebuild. Looking over here at the defensive side of the ball, they have Seiler, Davis, Wilkins, Van Ginkel is very good. Agba is very good as well. Xavier Howard. I think Xavier Howard's a little overrated. I think that he had a lot of interceptions that one season, got paid through the nose, and then kind of was just like an average, maybe top 12 type cornerback. Definitely not top 5 though. And then you got Byron Jones, who's fantastic as well. So defensively, defensively they're so good. So that paired with the offense, I think that you're going to see Miami take a big jump this season. I think that this team is going to live or die by the quarterback. So depending on how Tua adapts to having some like weapons around him, as well as having to whether or not that running back room can stay healthy. And we really don't know how it's going to gel between Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Both are kind of ball hogs, so it's going to be pretty tough to like feed everyone an even amount, given that Tua only averages 230 yards a game passing. That's not a lot to go around. Okay, so next up on the list here, we've knocked out the Patriots, we've knocked out the Dolphins. Let's go ahead and jump on into this Buffalo Bills team. So I think it's no surprise to a lot of people who's on this Buffalo Bills team. They are very good as well. I'm interested to see how this acquisition right here it's not an acquisition, but I'm interested to see how them doubling down on Devin Singletary is going to pay off for them. They went ahead and got James Cook, who is Dalvin Cook's brother. I think that Dalvin Cook is 10 times better than James Cook. I think that, again, he has a lot to live up to because of his brother. But that being said, this two combo right here is going to be very good. Devin Singletary had a very good end of the season, so I don't want to rag on him too much. But, looking over here at their wide receiver core, you have Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis, and then Jamison Crowder. I actually didn't even know that they went ahead and signed Jamison Crowder. I think that he'll be a solid third man in this receiving core, but I'm not wowed by this receiving core, honestly. You got Stephon Diggs, who is definitely a very good wide receiver. And then you had Gabriel Davis have a massive showing in the playoffs. Jamison Crowder's kind of had that average to a little above average of a wide receiver career, coming from Washington and then going to the Jets. Now he's landing on the Bills. I could be missing a team or two in between there, but he's been solid. I think Josh Allen is such a good quarterback that he's going to make these guys really shine. And then, of course, Dawson Knox, who pre-hand injury, he was fantastic. After he came back, I think that he was a little shaken up. I didn't know that they went ahead and got O.J. Howard, so it's going to be interested to see how he gets integrated into that tight end position, tight end role. And then looking at the offensive side, they got Saffold. I think Saffold's fantastic. I don't really know anyone else, being quite honest with you. Quisenberry, I know the name, but I don't know why. Looking over here at the defensive side of the ball, you got Ed Oliver. Guy's fantastic. Shaq Lawson, also very good. Matt Milano is also very good. Tremaine Edmonds, Von Miller. I actually forgot about Von Miller going to the Bills, so this defense is going to be disgusting. Tre'Davious White, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde. I mean, come on, man. Defense alone, I think they're going to win their division. They're definitely going to be up in this 11-13 win of category. And then getting here to the Jets. So the Jets are going to be in a little bit of an interesting position coming up this season. So looking at them, they are kind of capping at that, like they're so close, if not already there, of that final part of the rebuild that they've been working towards. So last season they invested their like top priority pick into getting Zach Wilson. I think that was a tremendous pick for them. He fits their system so well. You got Breece Hall. So I don't know what they're expecting out of Breece Hall. They did waste a pretty high pick on him. So between him and Michael Carter, I think that they have a very solid running back room. Tevin Coleman, you know, as much as I would love to say I love him because he went to IU where I went to school, he's just not anything special. So if it gets to Tevin Coleman, the game's probably out of hand. That being said, looking at their wide receiver core, you have Elijah Moore, who played out of his mind last season, Corey Davis, who we didn't see a ton of because he was injured, and then you got Garrett Wilson. I don't know too much about Garrett Wilson. He could be a rookie, so it wouldn't surprise me if that's the case. But looking here at their backups, you have Denzel Mims, who is very good, and then you have Braxton Berrios. Braxton Berrios had a stellar 2 or 3 game stretch, and then I believe he got injured. So I'm interested to see how he gets reintegrated into the offense. He could potentially fill in that Garrett Wilson role, depending on if he doesn't end up panning out. Looking at the tight end position, we know that in this offseason that the Bengals got rid of CJ Uzomah. So now he will be serving as the tight end 1. And also from the Minnesota Vikings, they are getting Tyler Conklin. So super interested to see how this all plays out. Connor McGovern is super good. Vera Tucker's very good. Mekhi Becton's very good. I mean, their offensive line looks outstanding, and it really should at this point because they've had so many high draft picks. Looking over here at the defensive side of the ball, you got Carl Lawson, who's fantastic. You got CJ Mosley, who's so good. I could be missing some of these guys. I'm not as familiar. I actually am very familiar with Quentin Williams. I actually have one of his jerseys. It's autographed. I just got it in an auction. You got Jordan Whitehead, and then you got DJ Reed. So I think on paper, oh my God, I didn't even know they got Greg Zuerlein. So Greg Zuerlein, obviously, the Dallas Cowboys ended up getting rid of him in this offseason. I mean, this team is looking pretty good. They just don't have, in my personal opinion, they could be, I think they're going to be right around that 7 to 8 win team. I think that they are one wide receiver away from being an absolute contender. But the problem is they're already in a tough division. So there's a lot of teams that are just a little ahead. They have that 1 or 2 playmakers that just really make the difference. And then I'm also not a big fan of the head coach. I don't know if he has what it takes to outplay the Buffalo Bills head coach. I don't know if he could contend with Belichick. I mean, there's just so many unknowns there. They have a lot of talent coming out of the system now, which is fantastic, and I'm super excited for them. But to say that they are a 9 to 10 or even 11 to 13 win team, I just haven't seen that step yet. Okay, so we've kind of rounded out the AFC East. Let's go ahead and pop over to the NFC East. So starting off with that, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. So looking here at the Philadelphia Eagles depth chart, it's tough, man. We know that Jalen Hurts he's a fantasy quarterback, in my opinion. He's very good in fantasy terms, but in reality, I don't know. I would love to see the team get a solid quarterback, those days of early on Carson Wentz pre-ACL tear. You just haven't seen that since. Jalen Hurts, I don't know if he's ever going to be that guy for them. It's tough. And then you got running backs of Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell. I mean, Miles Sanders gets hurt a lot. And do you really want an esports guy being your backup, your primary backup? Kenneth Gainwell, who can't figure out how to get any positive yards in a game. So looking at the receiving core is actually out of this world, if I'm being quite honest with you. They went ahead and invested heavily in the draft and got A.J. Brown, which I think was fantastic. And Devonta Smith, he was a rookie last season, played very well. Better than Jalen Reagor did. Obviously, he was their top pick a couple years ago, and just really hasn't panned out. Wouldn't be surprised if they just try to trade him to some other team in the upcoming offseason. But Zach Pascal is probably, if Quez Watkins isn't careful, he could lose his job to Zach Pascal, because Zach Pascal played phenomenal when he was on the Colts. You have Dallas Goedert, probably one of the best tight ends in the league, in my personal opinion. I just don't know if he's being utilized properly in the Philadelphia Eagles system right now. You got Mailata, who's fantastic. Landon Dickerson, who is stellar. You got probably the best center in the entire league of Jason Kelce. Probably on his last season, if I'm being quite honest with you. He's been around for a while. Looking over here at the defensive side of the ball, you have Fletcher Cox. Fletcher Cox is getting up there in age 2, so you don't really know how long he's going to be around. And then you got Darius Slay, who, I mean, come on. How much longer is Darius Slay going to be around as a premier, like, cornerback 1? It can't be very much longer. He's been around for quite some time now. Avonte Maddox, Anthony Harris. I mean, if you watched any of my rebuilds and everything, you'll know like what this Philadelphia Eagles team looks like. And in my personal opinion, they have a lot of work to do on the defensive side of the football. Offensively, they're starting to make some good rounds. However, that being said, I do think that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to finish right around that 7-8 win mark, which isn't necessarily bad. You could definitely win the NFC East with a record of 8 and 9. We've seen it plenty of times where a team with a less than 500 record wins that division. The division's just ass. Sorry, it is what it is, Looking over here at the New York Giants is next up on our list. So looking here at their depth chart, you went ahead and got Daniel Jones and Tyrod Taylor. Talk about another journeyman quarterback, my fault. A lot of people thought that they were going to take one of these premier type quarterbacks in the draft, but they didn't. That should bode a lot of confidence into Daniel Jones, who a lot of people say is not that end-all be-all quarterback. He definitely was not where they drafted him to be. He's not playing up to that potential. Looking here at their running back, everyone knows Saquon Barkley, stellar running back out of Penn State, paired with Matt Breida, who's probably 108 years old at this point. He has like a top speed of like 23 miles an hour. He's lightning fast, but he's just getting old. I mean, it is what it is. Kenny Golladay, who actually had less receiving yards last season than Evan Engram, so there's that. You have Sterling Shepard, and I can talk shit about Kenny Golladay. He went to NIU. That's where I went to college. You got Sterling Shepard, who I don't think is going to be their wide receiver 2. I have to say it's probably going to be Darius Slayton. I think he tore his Achilles last season, so it's going to be a long battle back for him. Kadarius Toney might be one of the best young wide receivers in the entire NFL. And then at tight end position, I don't see Evan Engram on this list. He's probably on a different team now. I think I remember hearing rumors about that. You got Jordan Atkins from the Houston Texans, so I like to see that they are making some moves to address a weak point in their offense. Ricky Seals-Jones is an established talent, so I think that that's a good move. Looking over here at their offensive line, Glanowski, he's fantastic. Evan Neal is going to be a monster for this team. I think that was such a good decision in the NFL draft to go ahead and get that monstrous right tackle out of Bama. It just made so much sense. Looking over here at the defense side of the ball, you have Dexter Lawrence, very good. You got Kayvon Thibodeau, another crazy standout linebacker out of Oregon. He was probably one of the best players in the draft. If I'm not mistaken, the Giants actually got the number 1 and number 2 rated players in the entire draft of Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal. So congrats to them. And then you got Ojulari, who's fantastic, Xavier McKinney, who's great, and then Adoree Jackson as well. I think that this could be the season that the Giants actually make a legitimate run at the divisional title. I think that they could end up taking a step to here. It's really going to be dependent. I mean, I cannot stress this enough. It is going to be dependent on the health of Saquon Barkley. This team is not the same team without Saquon Barkley. So I just don't feel quite good yet putting him in the 9 to 10 range. I actually think they're probably going to finish a little bit better than the Eagles. So I know there's a rivalry there, and there's a lot of people probably happy that I did that. Looking over here at the next team in that division, you have the Washington Commanders. So that is a very old logo. So looking here at the Washington Commanders, you have, so led by quarterback Carson Wentz. I chuckle a little bit because, I mean, he just has not been the same quarterback since his injury, unfortunately. He kind of like fizzled out of Philadelphia, went into the Indianapolis Colts in wake of Phillip Rivers and Andrew Luck. So I just think that Carson Wentz is one of those quarterbacks that he could honestly lose his job to Taylor Heinicke. Taylor Heinicke, I thought, was actually pretty fun to watch last season. He was kind of had that grit, like hard-nosed type play style. Kind of surprised they went out and got Carson Wentz. I think that they could have addressed a couple of other holes in their team, but they went ahead and addressed Carson Wentz as their quarterback. I don't know what's going on in the head office. Got Antonio Gibson, who's fantastic, paired with J.D. McKissick, who is also really good in the absence of Antonio Gibson. So super excited to see what that combo can do again in their second or third year together. Looking over here at the wide receiver core, you have Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, and Jahan Dotson. So I'm actually a little hazy on Curtis Samuel. So I don't know what to expect with this guy. He's fantastic when he's healthy, but he's never healthy. Never healthy, ever. Terry McLaurin is probably one of the best receivers in the entire league. He has such finesse in his route running that he's honestly like kind of a marvel to watch. So I think that he just getting some other guy to pair with him is going to be pivotal to this team's success, because Carson Wentz is not going to be a world beater for the team. They need some superior talent here in the receiving core, and they just don't have it just quite yet, in my personal opinion. And it doesn't look like they have a ton of depth at the position either. Sure, there's a lot of names on this list, but none of them are actually peeking out to me saying like, hey, this is going to be a very good backup. Logan Thomas is great. Again, gets injured all the time. He's getting up there in age too. I think he's like right around like 29, maybe 30 something. Tight ends play for a little bit longer, so it is what it is. Looking over here at the offensive line, I don't really know anyone outside of Andrew Norwell. I think Norwell is coming over from the New York Jets, if I'm not mistaken. Like I said, I've already said it once in the video, but I'll say it again. My knowledge of linemen is very much lacking. I'm trying to get better at it, but it is what it is at this point. You have Chase Young, who is a fantastic defensive end. He got injured last season, which really sucked. I think he tore his ACL, so it'll be interesting to see if he will be back for the start of the season. You got Montez Sweat, who is fantastic as the other edge rusher. You got Mayo, Kendall Fuller, and then that's pretty much all the people that I know at this point. You got Joey Sly, who I thought was fantastic when he was on Carolina. So where do I put the Commanders? I hate to say it, man. I really do. I think that they're only going to win like 5 or 6 games, and this is probably going to be Carson Wentz's farewell tour. I just don't think that he's a good quarterback. I'd love to see him do well, and I'd love to be proven wrong, but at this point, I just don't see it. Their division's starting to get a little tougher. A lot of teams are starting to have like 1 or 2 playmakers in that division, and the Washington Commanders are just putting all of their eggs into the wrong baskets here. Ending out that division, you have the Dallas Cowboys. So here is America's team. You have the quarterback of Dak Prescott. Having a backup of Cooper Rush is fantastic. He was so good in the absence of Dak Prescott. You have running back Ezekiel Elliott, who is probably getting close to his last 3 years in the league at this point. He was fantastic at Ohio State, and he's definitely like one of the better running backs in the league at one point. He's just kind of been dropping off. Having that 1-2 punch of Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard is probably like one of the scariest things to have to deal with when you're on the defensive side of the ball. Tony Pollard is fantastic. He also like returns for the team, so you know he's got some speed, he's got some agility. So it'll be interesting. They did get rid of Amari Cooper this offseason to the Cleveland Browns. Looking here, you have CeeDee Lamb as that wide receiver 1 now. Michael Gallup kind of got paid a little bit too much, in my personal opinion, for a guy that tore his ACL in like the final game of the season last year. I like that they're finally acknowledging the fact that this guy's got superior talent, because I don't really question the talent of him. But him paired with James Washington, another guy who's just kind of like, I don't really know. I know who he is. He's from Pittsburgh. Like, he's Pittsburgh, he's the Vegas Raiders. Like, he's definitely an established player. I just don't think that he's going to make CeeDee Lamb look any better. That's for sure. And then you got tight end Dalton Schultz, who was actually very good. So good that he actually led to Jarwin getting traded away or just not re-signed. So I think Dalton Schultz is probably going to be that wide receiver 2 for the team, in my personal opinion. Looking over here at their offensive line, Zach Martin, probably the best right guard in the entire NFL. Tyron Smith, also very good. Looking over here at the defense, you have DeMarcus Lawrence, who is fantastic as an edge rusher. Dante Fowler Jr. is also very good. Leighton Vander Esch as a middle linebacker. Pretty good player. Micah Parsons was probably the best rookie last season. At least on the defensive side of the ball. That's like probably without question. A lot of people were questioning whether or not he could keep his mental state in the right place for the entire season, and he kind of exceeded expectations in my personal opinion. Looking over here, you have Jaron Kearse, also very good. Malik Hooker and Trevon Diggs. A lot of people have hyped up Diggs as like one of the best corners in the league, just because he gets a lot of interceptions. You can't really attribute interceptions to being a good corner. There's probably a correlation there as to why they're getting so many passes targeted to the wide receiver, and they just have more opportunity for interceptions. They kind of like go all out for the interception, and that's not always a good thing. So I don't actually know who this kicker is. He's probably a new guy. But Brian Anger, I think that he's fantastic as well as a punter. So Dallas is making some interesting steps. I think that this is going to be a tough year for them though. I'm actually going to put Dallas down here in the 5-6 win range. I'm sorry. I've just seen so many times that Dallas loses games when they get 30 points. That's just not acceptable, man. Like, and offensively, they took a giant step back, in my personal opinion, of getting rid of Amari Cooper. I mean, it's just tough. It's really, really tough. And so I just don't see them taking a step. They're definitely going to be behind the Giants and the Eagles, in my personal opinion. I'd love to eat crow here. And I'd love for you to tell me that I'm eating crow. But that being said, I just think that they're going to be better than the Commanders, but they're not going to be better than the Eagles. Okay, so we finally reached our last conference divisions of the AFC South and the NFC South. So let's start off with the AFC South. You have the Houston Texans up first. So looking here at the Houston Texans depth chart at quarterback, you have Davis Mills, kind of a surprise talent that kind of took the league by storm last year. He was fantastic. I think in his debut in the NFL, he had over 300 yards passing and back-to-back weeks, no less. Kyle Allen, known backup from the Washington, whatever their name was last year, football team. Jeff Driscoll has been around for a long time as well. Running back number 1, Marlon Mack. Are you kidding me? That is crazy. A guy like Marlon Mack who tore his Achilles tendon, which is like that's like kryptonite for running backs. If you tear your Achilles, there's like really no coming back from that injury. You got Rex Burkhead, who's probably 114 years old at this point and has neck surgery. You have Dameon Pierce, which I think is going to be the starter by the end of the season. I think it's going to take a couple games, but he is going to end up being that starter for the team. Wink, wink at draft fantasy stuff. I would definitely probably draft pretty high on this guy. Looking over here at the wide receiver core, you have Braden Cooks, who I honestly thought that he was done probably 2 years ago, but he played fantastic last season, was probably like one of the only shining lights on the team, at least for the first couple of weeks anyways. Nico Collins, who I think is a fantastic wide receiver as well. Michi, I think he's pretty good. Brevin Jordan is interesting. I wouldn't have expected him to be the tight end 1. I know that Atkins left, and I'm not sure if Brevin Jordan was actually above Atkins at the end of the season. But I think Brevin Jordan's actually pretty good as well. I'm not going to like try and say that he's not. Janovich now plays for the Houston Texans. I think that this is where like running backs go to die. Like they just end up in the Houston Texans system and then they just die off. I don't even see David Johnson on this list anymore, so he's probably either picked up somewhere else or he just retired. Looking over here at the offensive line, you have Laramie Tunsil, fantastic player. You have the 4-3 defense of Malik Collins. He's very good. Neville Hewitt's fantastic. Kruger Hill is very good. Stingley Jr. is good. I don't really know anyone else. I know that they got rid of Desmond King this offseason. What? Where's Desmond King? Wow. So they're actually saying that Desmond King isn't even going to be a starter for them in this next season. So gonna be interesting. Steven Nelson must be a new guy. So Steven Nelson, I actually think came from Philadelphia last season. Wow. I did not realize that they were putting Desmond King behind him. So I know Stingley Jr. Is a rookie this season, so we haven't seen too much out of him just quite yet, but kind of crazy to me. So they're kind of like in that rebuild phase as well. So I just think that the Houston Texans, unfortunately, are going to be in this 5 to 6 win range. Again, they are dog shit at running back. I mean, this is where running backs go to die. So unfortunately, that is what it is at this point, and you just kind of have to move on. Next up, you have the Tennessee Titans. Looking here at the depth chart for the Tennessee Titans, you have Ryan Tannehill, who is dealing with his own little mental stressors of falling out of the playoffs after the first round bye last season. But they actually went to therapy for it because he was just in a very, very dark place. And now there's a lot of controversy because he doesn't feel that he should be the mentor to Malik Willis, that rookie quarterback who got selected in the draft out of Liberty. He was like highly touted as like one of the top quarterbacks and he ended up falling, I think, into the 3rd round, if I'm not mistaken. Looking over here at the running back position, you have Derrick Henry, probably the best running back in the entire NFL, without question. The dude is a freaking monster. Hassan Haskins, Dontrell Hilliard, Jordan Wilkins. So this running back room is fantastic, which makes a lot of sense because they are a run-first team. Looking over here at the wide receiver position, so this is where Robert Woods ended up. Interesting. I didn't actually know this, but I actually like this quite a bit. Robert Woods, Treylon Burks is fantastic, and Westbrook Akine is also fantastic. So without really having anyone who is like an established wide receiver 1 on this team, they have a bunch of wide receiver 2, and that's totally fine when you're a run-first team. So, you know, Derrick Henry's going to get 25-ish carries, maybe more a game. So you don't really need the best wide receivers. You definitely need receivers, but you don't need to be the best. Looking over here at tight end, they went ahead and got Austin Hooper. Fantastic acquisition. I think that he's an outstanding tight end. This is a team that definitely utilizes the tight end after getting rid of Jonnu Smith, who was fantastic when he was with the Titans. Looking over here at the lineman, Taylor Lewan, probably one of the best left tackles in all of football. Had a little bit of a trouble last season staying healthy. But that being said, he is just so good and it's kind of a hothead, honestly. But that's what you need when you're on offensive line. Looking here at the defensive side of the ball, you got Tart, who's fantastic. Harold Landry III, also very good. Bud Dupree's fantastic. Amani Hooker's fantastic. Kevin Byard's fantastic. Christian Fulton. I mean, this team's going to be solid again. And I don't really think that their success was contingent on the fact of having Julio Jones and A.J. Brown last season. It's going to be a tough road, but I think that they're probably going to end up with a 9 to 10 win season again. It is going to be interesting to see how Derrick Henry bounces back from his Jones fracture in his foot. He was able to come back in the playoffs, but I don't know, it's kind of rushed, and you can't really read too much into that performance. He's going to come back stronger than ever. I mean, I'm not just saying that because he's on my fantasy team. So that's what that is. So rounding out the AFC South. Well, actually, that's not true. So next up on our list here, we have the Indianapolis Colts. So let's go ahead and give them a good look here. The Indianapolis Colts are led by newly acquired Matt Ryan. I think that is fantastic. They got Sam Ehlinger as their backup. I mean, this team is going to be fantastic in my personal opinion. You have Jonathan Taylor, who is an absolute freaking monster. Nyheim Hines is great in his role. He's not going to be a world beater for the team. You have Michael Pittman Jr., who is probably one of the more underrated talents in the entire league. Alec Pierce, who's fantastic. And then Paris Campbell, when healthy, is also very good. He was a standout at Ohio State, but has really been plagued by injuries so far in his career. Ashton Doolin was really good as well. Kiki Cutie, I didn't know that he was on the team. So they have a lot of depth at the receiving core. They have great talent at the running back. They have a freaking giant as the tight end of Mo Alley Cox. So, I mean, this team is looking pretty damn good. You got Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly. I mean, you got good offensive linemen when I can recognize the names. Looking over here at the defensive side of the ball, you have DeForest Buckner, who's probably one of the best defensive tackles in the entire NFL. Yannick Ngakoue, who is a freaking monster as well. Darius Leonard, probably one of the best linebackers in the entire NFL. Okereke, who's fantastic as well. Kenny Moore, Rodney McLeod, who's coming over from, I think, the Philadelphia Eagles. And then Stephon Gilmore. Did not know that he signed with the Colts. So I think that is going to be fantastic for the team as well. I mean, it might be too soon to say so, but I think that you may see the Colts be one of the best teams in the entire NFL this season. They just look so damn good on offense, so fantastic on defense. I believe in the system. I believe in the scheme that they run, and I really think that they finally have the talent to take this all the way. Looking over here at the Jacksonville Jaguars. So on the Jacksonville Jaguars, you have Trevor Lawrence, who was fantastic last season, even though he didn't really have a ton of talent around him. You have Travis Etienne, so we've yet to really see what this guy can do, but you have James Robinson. Like, this combo right here, if they're both healthy and ready to play, I mean, this could give the Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams a run for their money for the best duo running backs in the entire NFL. They are fantastic. Looking here at the wide receiver course, you have the newly acquired Christian Kirk from the Arizona Cardinals. Also, you have Laviska Shenault as a backup, which is crazy to me. You have Marvin Jones Jr. coming over from, I think he was on New England. No, not New England. He was on Detroit, and then he actually was on the team last season, so I don't even know what I'm talking about. Then you got Zay Jones, who was very good as well, coming, I could be remembering it wrong, but I think he played on Vegas or Buffalo. I know he's played on both, but I don't know which one he played on previously. You got Evan Engram now playing tight end for the team, so you're starting to see this offense take shape, which, I mean, Trevor Lawrence has never been a question about whether or not he can be an NFL quarterback. He definitely can. He just did not have the talent around him. So you're finally starting to see this take shape. I think that they could be a really tough team to beat in their division. I don't know. It's tough. They play in a really tough division. So Scherf is fantastic. Jawan Taylor's pretty good too. I don't really know anyone else. Looking here at the defense, Devon Hamilton's pretty good. Oluokun, I know that name, but I don't know how good he is. Travon Walker, the best, or the number one pick in the draft. I think that we're excited to see what he can have to offer here. He was fantastic when he did play in college, and so I don't know. I don't know if he's gonna be able to carry the defense if that's being said. You have Andrew Wingard, who's good, and then you got Shaquille Griffin, who's also good as well. So I think that the Jaguars may end up taking that step into this 7 to 8 win type of a team. I don't know if they're going to be a 9 to 10 win team yet. That's too much of a leap, in my personal opinion. Running out over here, you have the NFC South now. So this division at one point was one of the best divisions in all of football. Unfortunately, now it's kind of like a shell of its former self. So looking here at the Carolina Panthers first. So starting us off here, you have Sam Darnold and Matt Corral, or Coral. I don't know how you say his last name, but he was a draft pick for them this offseason. So I think before we know it, we're going to see Coral as the quarterback one for the team. You have Christian McCaffrey, probably the best, if not the second best running back, with Derrick Henry in that contention. Chuba Hubbard was good in the absence of McCaffrey, but I don't think that Christian McCaffrey has anything to worry about, even with injuries. At the receiving core now, you have DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and Rashard Higgins. I think Higgins is coming over from the Brown system, if I'm not mistaken. Not a lot of depth here at the receiving core. So I worry a little bit with this team. Tommy Tremble's he's really good. I thought that he was tremendous last year. Akeem Ikwanu, yeah, Akeem Ikwanu is going to be fantastic for the team. He was a draft pick this year. He I don't know if the team was a left tackle away from being a contender. I actually know the answer. The answer is no. But looking here at the defensive side of the ball, you got Brian Burns, who's fantastic defensive edge. Matt Ioannidis, he's also very good. Shaq Thompson's fantastic. Xavier Woods is a little old, but okay, whatever. Is he old, or am I thinking of Xavier Rhodes? So I just checked, and Xavier Woods is actually not he's not the guy I was thinking. I was thinking of Xavier Rhodes, and yeah, he's obviously gone. And then you got J.C. Horn, who I think he missed a lot of the season last season due to being hurt. So I would love to see C.J. Henderson get a shot at playing a little bit more. He was fantastic last season. So I think a combination of J.C. Horn and C.J. Henderson might actually be plausible in the future. Got Johnny Hecker as a punter on the team now. So love to see that he got an opportunity post Colts. So yeah, this team is probably going to end up finishing right around this 5 to 6-ish range. Unfortunately, I mean, it is what it is, man. They just don't have anyone that knows what they're doing at the quarterback position. Matt Rule, I don't know if is going to be a good head coach. This team lives and dies by Christian McCaffrey, and even then, they really struggle to win games. Looking over here at the New Orleans Saints. Okay, so the New Orleans Saints have Jameis Winston as the quarterback one and Andy Dalton as the backup. I don't actually see Taysom Hill on this roster anymore, so interested to see where he ended up because I think that he did get a decent contract from the team. I just didn't see him anywhere. Looking here at the running back position, you have Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. Love to see the 1-2 combo. That's a very recognizable duo, at least for the past couple of seasons. And you got Michael Thomas, who doesn't want to play but wants to get paid. So he is arguably one of the best wide receivers when he is actually playing and healthy. Jarvis Landry just got added to the team a couple days ago, and then you got Chris Olave. So this receiving core is going to be disgusting, along with Marquez Callaway and Traquan Smith, LeJordan Humphrey, and where's Deion Harris? Isn't he not, or Damian Harris? Is he not on the team anymore? I guess not, but I think he had like a DUI, and the team just dropped him. Looking over here at the tight end position, you have Taysom Hill listed as a tight end, not even on the quarterback radar, and he's a backup to Adam Troutman. So Taysom Hill is getting paid to do nothing for the team. Is there a better job in all of the world? No. So looking here, you got Cesar Ruiz and Ryan Ramczyk. Ryan Ramczyk's probably one of the best right tackles in all of football. Looking here at the defense side of the ball, you have Cameron Jordan, who's fantastic. You got Marcus Davenport, Demario Davis, Tyrann Mathieu, recently acquired this offseason, Marcus May, Marshawn Lattimore. So this team's going to be pretty good, honestly. I think that they have all the pieces to make a good, legitimate run here. Unfortunately, I think that they're probably just going to end up right around that 7 to 8 range. They don't have Sean Payton calling plays anymore. He's actually taking a break from football. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, this conference is kind of like contingent on how good the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are, which I think they're going to be pretty freaking good. They're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So looking at the depth chart here for the Atlanta Falcons, you have Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder as the backup for now. We don't really know what the future of Desmond Ridder is going to be, but we have to imagine he's going to take over Marcus Mariota. Mariota's good, don't get me wrong, but it's been a couple of years since he's been a starter. You got Cordell Patterson as the RB1 with Damian Williams as the backup. I mean, okay, Cordell Patterson was fantastic for the team last season. I love the fact that they're giving him an opportunity to show that it wasn't just a fluke, but he kind of fizzled out at the end of the season. He is up there in age, but he is lightning fast and a very good pass catcher as well. Got a superior talent at the wide receiver position of Drake London. They acquired Brian Edwards this offseason and Olamide Zacharias. And then I don't know how to say this guy's last name, so I'm not even going to try. You got Auden Tate, who was very good when he played for the Cincinnati Bengals. It's been a couple of years, though, since I've actually seen him on the list. Damiere Byrd, he was on the Bears last season, I want to say. Geronimo Allison, he was on the Packers a couple of years ago. So they have a lot of depth at the position. I mean, the real thing here is going to be Kyle Pitts. They actually got Anthony Firkser from the Tennessee Titans. So They're actually looking pretty good offensively, a lot better than I thought. They're just way better than I thought. You got Lindstrom, McGarry, Hennessy, Mayfield, Matthews, really good offensive line. So future's very bright for that offense. Looking over here at the defensive side of the ball, you got Grady Jarrett, Deion Jones. Oh man, a lot of these people I don't know. Lorenzo Carter I know is good. AJ Terrell's good. Casey Hayward Jr. He's good, but he's old, so I don't know how that's going to work out. I think they're going to get burnt on defense quite a bit. I'm just going to put them in the 7 to 8 win range. And then you have last up here, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Taking a look here at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you have Tom Brady retiring and unretiring within a matter of a month. And so he's obviously the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. So he's going to lead this team. Got Leonard Fournette and Keyshawn Vaughn. Giovanni Bernard's the 4th-string backup, which I don't think is necessarily the worst decision. Leonard Fournette played his ass off last season. There's really no way around that. He played fantastic. You have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Russell Gage. I didn't know Russell Gage went to the Buccaneers. I think that that'll be a fun receiving core to watch. So I think that when all healthy, that could be a very viable type player that we could end up growing to love in that system. Cameron Brate now takes the step up as the tight end 1 for the team after they are losing out on Rob Gronkowski and OJ Howard. I don't actually see Gronk anywhere. He might have formally retired. I heard something in the wings that he would come back if Julian Edelman came back, which I don't really see why they would ever want to do that. They did lose out on Marte or Ali Marte. Or Marte, whatever. He ended up retiring this offseason, so that sucks, but they do have Ryan Jensen, probably one of the best centers in the entire NFL. Shaq Mason's also fantastic, and so is Tristan Wirfs, so their offensive line is disgusting. Looking over here at the defensive side of the ball, they got Vita Vea, probably the best nose tackle in the entire NFL. You got William Golston, who is also fantastic. Devin White's fantastic. Levante David's awesome. Shaquille Barrett. Jamel Dean, Antoine Winfield Jr., Carlton Davis. I mean, this team is disgusting. Can we just stop? So actually, the league kind of shakes out in the way that you would think here. I don't know if mathematically all this makes sense, given everyone's schedules and all the time playing. So I could be way off. I'm not going to sit here and do advanced algebra to figure out if any of this is actually plausible as a possibility. But that being said, you have your 11 to 13 win teams of the Cleveland Browns finally taking that step, Minnesota Vikings stepping up, Cincinnati Bengals in that revenge tour. You have Aaron Rodgers without Devontae Adams, so I think it'll be a fun little story. You have the Super Bowl contending team of the LA Rams, Buffalo Bills looking to finally stake that claim as a Super Bowl run. You have the Indianapolis Colts who could stand in their way, and then you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers who would love to get into a Super Bowl with Tom Brady in what should be his final season. And then looking over here at the 5 to 6 win team, unfortunately, you do have the Chicago Bears, the Seattle Seahawks, surprisingly probably the Dallas Cowboys to a lot of people. Washington Commanders, Houston Texans, and then the Carolina Panthers. I hope you all enjoyed. It took a long time to record this, actually 2 days, because I just don't have a ton of time. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll catch you next. See ya!